So I'm here with film director Terrence Arlyn. He's director of the new film with Big Daddy Kane and Glenn Plummer, called ElemenTory. Can you tell me a little bit about how you became a film director?
Well, I started off doing comedy.
Right.
So stand-up comedy in like '04. I was trying to get into the industry because I knew a lot of great actors came from the comedy circuit, and that's how they got into the film industry. So for me, I thought that was going to be my route. I met a lot of great people in my journeys of doing comedy, but it didn't quite do it. But I wrote a book. I wrote a book titled Circumstances, and it got 4 stars, and it's traveled around the world, the story. And then I got an opportunity to write for a series. So I started off ghostwriting,
Okay.
and in that effort, I wrote my first film, Last Shot. That did phenomenal. It's still running really, really well around the world. It's international, and then I had this project in mind. So yeah, that's kind of how that was kind of the steps I took.
Definitely. I was reading your bio and I saw that you were a comedian and you had toured with Michael Blackson, and I've interviewed him previously before. And I've talked with a lot of comedians about the importance of comedy, writing, how you develop your skills as a writer. Can you talk a little bit about how being a comedian helped you become a writer?
Presence. You develop a presence about yourself being on stage. Uh, Honesty. Comedians are usually, even though we're joking, giving a lot of truth and honesty to what we're saying. And if you can incorporate that into your writing, you're going to write honest, true views of personal aspects. And that's what comedians are honestly doing. They're telling their lives. If you listen to the joke, it really stems from something they've gone through, or it's personal. So in writing, that's really what it is. Everything that you're looking at just has to have those nuances in it. But comedy gave me that stage presence, gave me that command. I learned how to command attention, and I think with that, I just put it into the writing.
I was looking at your IMDb profile, and a lot of your jobs early on you were a grip. And can you talk about the responsibilities of being a grip, because it's the person they work with the gaffer and the cinematographer to supervise lighting, rigging, the entire it's very, very key position, that doesn't always get highlighted. Can you talk about that?
Absolutely. So when I got into this after Last Shot was out, I was trying to figure out how to be more consistent in the field, learn more. Everybody wants to be a director. Everybody wants to be on camera. Everybody wants to, So it was like, well, what do I like? So I figured out when I was on set that the lighting department was the most crucial part of film. Like if your lighting and sound is not good, I don't care the camera. It doesn't really matter. Your lighting is everything. So I took a few gigs playing in the role of a grip. I fell in love with it because you're right there with the director. You're right there with everybody, and you're literally the like one of the key helpers. And I love helping. That's like me. So when I figured out that that was great, I moved into the gaffing because that was more control over the light. And I felt like if you're going to be a great director, you need to know lighting. So that was my thing. I started working with a lighthouse. It was Double Down Lighting. They're now in Paterson, New Jersey, with Parlay Studios, I believe it is. So they're still in existence. I got to work on Nickelodeon, Under Armour commercials. I've worked on some of the biggest projects just doing lighting, and I got to meet some of like Obama. We
Oh, you
lit
met
rooms
Obama?
for
What was
Obama.
that? You met
Yeah,
Obama?
well, I didn't. Yeah, we lit rooms for Obama and Beyonce. I wasn't able to stay in. Once it was set that we had to step out. That's the only thing about commercial and documentary. They keep those real tight, but to work and set it up was still
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, it's pretty incredible, man. You know, can you talk a little bit about because you didn't go to film school, and I feel there's a huge argument online the value of going to film school or learning online, and I can see there's merits for both. Can you talk about what you advise someone to do if they wanted to aspire to be a director? what path would you
This,
tell them to take?
this is simple. I didn't go to school because I didn't know that I was going to fall in love with the film industry, with the craft of being a creator. It's I love to create. So if you are truly in love with what you are trying to do, what you are doing, if your love for the arts of creating film, cinema, documentaries, telling stories, whether you're writing them, because if you're in love with it, then yeah, it's going to actually be easy. You're going to learn it along the way. School just really gives you the structure, kind of gives you the premise of it. But you're going to learn that once you get out there, and those premises change on every set. So you can't learn that in school. It's no different than any other work field. You really just got to get in it, and that's why, like I said, I knew I loved it. So they didn't matter if we worked 18 hours, because there's days where you could work
Right.
18 hours. Uh, when you love it, you in it. I'm still pumped. 17 hours in. I'm still ready to go, and I'm ready for the next day, our call time, which should be 12 hours, but in the indie world, I mean, you might be back in 8. So when you know you love it, you don't. There's no call outs. There's never a day you miss because you're tired. There's never a day you miss because when you love it, you show up every day for this. And it's a fight, it's a grind to get a project finished because you're working with facets and so many different people from all over. But like I said, when you love it, uh, you get it, you finish, and you complete projects and you make magic. So if you really love uh, being a creator and that's what you want to do, then I say learn to write. And writing is simple: piece of paper, pencil, just write as much of your ideas out, because a director has to have a great vision.
Right.
Everybody there is listening to you. And if you're the writer of the project, they're listening to you and your vision and how they can bring it to life. And the only way they can truly bring it to life is for you to describe every nuance, every character, every trait, every essence of that person, of that character, so that they can go out there and be their best version of it. So yeah, I hope I
What
answered that.
what was the inspiration behind this new film, ElemenTory? Has Big Daddy Kane, Glenn Plummer in it. Can you talk about like what you want people to take out of the film?
So the truest element in this world is you and I, my children. And Tori was a character that we created. So element, our truest element, the element we would fight and kill and die for, is our children, ourselves, our loved ones. Um, so that's where the title comes in, our wordplay for that. But really, it was my son. I have a 13-year-old, and he started off school pretty bad. He gets in trouble. And I think when he got a detention when he was 6 years old. And I thought that was unheard of. After school detention. So he was supposed to stay after school. So, and okay, so we signed it up. I'm waiting there after school for the late bus, and a bus pulls up. And my son didn't get off the bus.
Wow.
My neighbor's kids got off the bus. I'm like, where is my son?
Yeah.
I already wasn't
That's
cool with
a
this.
scary feeling.
Yeah, I already wasn't cool with him being
Yeah.
so young and have to stay after school for detention. But it was just one of those things. I was like, so I'm calling school and they had no answers. They
Yeah.
was like, he's on the bus. I'm like, well, with whom? What bus? Can you give me the number of the bus? They had no answers. They didn't know nothing. So my heart is racing. I'm literally going crazy. I'm thinking about what to do next because I don't know where my son is. He don't have a cell phone. He's 6. So
Yeah.
it was no way of even figuring this thing out. The school was, I guess, calling the buses or whatever. But for 6 minutes, I stood there clueless, and another bus pulled up, and he was on the second bus.
Wow.
When he got off the bus, that story developed because I said, "How well do you know the school system? How well do you know these bus drivers, the janitors, the teachers? There's so many administrative staff walking through that school that you and I do not know of. But they
100.
have clearance to move throughout. Counselors that can take your child out of class, right? You
Yeah.
don't know that and do what and say what to your child. So for me, it was like I developed a story that I really challenged ourselves to go out and let's learn more about our school systems. Let's set up better structures in the school system so that we can have better communication throughout, because uh, there is some real predators in this world, and trafficking is a it's been a commodity since the beginning of time. And there's only truly going to be one way to stop it, and it's better communication and tighter knit communities.
Man.
So that's what this story is about. I was inspired by John Q. Uh, I just felt like the movie John Q with Denzel Washington, written by James. I
Yeah.
just felt like they understood the demand and urgency of when it comes to a child. By all means, everything and everyone should stop, and we should do what we're supposed to do and find this, because I couldn't imagine waking up a day without my children, not knowing where my child is.
Yeah,
So
that's a horrible feeling. Like I had that happen to me once. I was in I lived in an apartment complex, and my daughter was about 4. My other daughter was 5. My one daughter was kind of like lagging behind, and my daughter got on the elevator, and I could see like what floor she went to and stuff. But when I got to the floor, she wasn't there. Like I looked out, but it was like a lady like in the apartment complex, like it like had like took her into the apartment and stuff and everything, like and I was able to get her back like pretty quickly. But like that was the scariest like 10 minutes of my life, like as far as your heart, like where did she go? Is she kidnapped? Are you gonna see your child again? So um ElemenTory, it's available on different streaming platforms like on February 13th. You filmed this like in New Jersey, right? Like aren't you from New Jersey? What was that feeling like?
yeah, I'm from New Jersey, and that's where I was born and raised, Glassboro. Uh, it's a smaller town. We had a TV tech class, so that was like the first time you've seen cameras, but they kind of taught us like news more so. So it's like I wasn't interested in sitting behind and being an anchor and talking news back then. Actually, that's podcasting, but I wasn't back then. We didn't see that world really. Uh, but even being behind the cameras, it just wasn't what I seen myself doing at the time. I knew I was an entertainer, but I wasn't sure how. So that was the first time. But outside of that, we didn't know how to get to Hollywood. So it was like, we're in New Jersey. How do we get way out there? And New York seemed so clustered that it was like it just seems hard. So for us, it was the journey to Hollywood. And now we don't have to go to Hollywood. I created a way and a path that we can create right here in New Jersey and the tri-state area, because that's what we pretty much work. We work this entire tri-state. This movie was filmed in mainly New Jersey, but we did have scenes in Philadelphia, and Pennsylvania.
Awesome. Like, and you have another film, like, that's coming out, I Love Juliet, that you directed, and I saw like, you worked with Jamal Woodard. What is that like? Uh,
Yeah, yeah, it's actually out already. That's
okay.
been out for a few months already. I think it's on Tubi. That released there. Yeah, it was a cool experience. To watch him in Notorious,
Yeah.
and then to be able to direct him in a project where he's playing this terrible cop and corrupted, but super smooth swag, and that's what I liked about his character. We took it back to Romeo and Juliet, just trying to give a modern day version with a black Romeo and a Latino Juliet. Uh, it just has a different essence to it, and super cool story. So we had fun. We had fun creating it. Um, and yeah, but yeah, I was able to direct that. I wasn't. That was the only part I had in it. I think it was a cool story though.
Most definitely, man. Terrence, you got a lot of great things going on. Like, 2024 just started. What's next for you in the year? Any projects that you got coming up that you could talk about?
Yeah, well, I got a film that I directed and DP and gaffed, titled "Too Toxic," and it's a Caribbean love story about a guy that came from the islands that lives in Philadelphia. Another woman moves to Pennsylvania from NASA. They fall in love. He's an entertainer though,
Okay.
and he's on the heights of being the next guy. And in this career of being an entertainer, when you're out traveling the world and people love you, the perception is we're all cheaters. We're all going to break your heart. We're all going to be out here doing this craziness, making. And when you're a real man and you understand that you have quality and you're a woman, you have a great woman and you're a good, like I said, when you're raised right. And in this story, this guy is a great guy. He already been through a lot of bad things. He just really want what he has. And she at times don't see that, where though it causes those perceptions and that crazy life. So Too Toxic is really just telling a true story about two people from two different parts of these islands who met up in Philly that has this crazy musical story. And it's literally telling that story from beginning to end through the music, and we're just acting it all out. So this is a movie and an album by artist Zig the Artist, that's his name, and he's the lead actor in this also.
Man, that sounds amazing, Terrence. I can't wait to see like your work. Uh, I really enjoy speaking with you. Last question. Can you tell like, the creators, like, directors, aspiring actors, like any advice that you would give them?
Yeah, create as much content as you can, because outside of Too Toxic, I have Forsaken All Others, which I produced, um, and that's coming out this year, and Dying Roots, which I'm acting in and I directed. Uh, Dying Roots, Too Toxic, Forsaken All Others. Those are three films that I produced that's also coming out this year. ElemenTory was first, but those were the other ones. And I got a few other projects, some books, and some workshops, whereas though we're doing cohorts, just teaching the music, teaching the film aspect together so that you can learn how to create a film from beginning to end. Because most people have to understand that every film is correlated with music. If you're an artist, a true artist like Zig was, we took all the music that we needed, that he created, and we put a story around it that we know the world's gonna love. Because I mean, you're gonna find yourself in there, So yeah, it's so many dope stories. But Dying Roots is just about the father. So the lack of there was a time when our fathers wasn't fathers, and what happened to the next generations when we were misled as men and daughters. So Dying Roots talks about the roots of our families and where it all started. And it's a crazy story. And I mean, the ending is gonna have you like, what the what? Because once again, when you see ElemenTory, you understand our writing or my writing style.
Yeah,
I want to take you through a mental roller coaster, because that's what life is.
most definitely. Terrence, thank you so much for taking the time. I really appreciate you.
Yes, sir.